Hey everybody, thanks for clicking on my video. This is part 2 of a 3-part series. The first part is about the sidewalk we just poured, and now we're on to this kind of like this sidewalk concrete ramp right here. This is part 2. Part 3 will be a patio that we're pouring down back using that power buggy you see in the background. In the videos, I'm going to be talking about how to pour and finish concrete. With a broom finish like this, we'll be cutting some joints, we'll be doing some edging, showing you how we mag float before we broom, all that good stuff right there. But right now we're going to just get on to pouring this, kind of like this ramp. This has about a 1 in 12 slope, so it's definitely within code. And we had to match up the ramp that was there to the right, the wood ramp, and then we had to bring it down to kind of match the driveway, because they're just leaving the driveway the way it is. It's just a dirt driveway, so we didn't want to really raise the end of that ramp up any higher, otherwise they'd hit it with a snow plow when they come plow the driveway out in the winter. So this is where we were left at. Now we came in, did the forms. The homeowner hired an excavator that we had recommended, and they came in and they dug this out, added some gravel, compacted it, and then we came in and set the forms. Now originally it was just supposed to be a 4-inch thick kind of walkway ramp. It ended up being a little deeper than that. As you can see, we got 2x4s that we had used to get it formed up, and then we had to bring some more back and add underneath the 2x4s because it ended up being 7 or 8 inches thick, which is fine. It wasn't that big a deal, just a little bit extra concrete. And as you can see, we got wire mesh in there. We're pulling that up into the concrete really good. Now, if you're new watching my videos, and you hasn't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, and then make sure you put new sub in the comments, and I'll enter you into a drawing to win some of the gear that we wear every day. That's the hoodies, the t-shirts, the hats and stuff like that we wear. You got to put new sub or newly subscribed into the comments though, so I know you're new. And then if you want to, like if you're here, it could be because you're thinking of maybe doing something similar to this, a sidewalk, a walkway, or patio with a broom finish, and you want to learn more about this, this video will help you a little bit. I go into much more detail in the concrete underground, where I have all my private training videos. I'll probably end up putting these 3 pours. There's 3 pours here on this job that we're doing this morning. I'll probably end up putting these 3 pours in the concrete underground too as a training video. And in the difference between these and the training videos is I go into much more detail about the forming part, even the sub-base part, the concrete, what we use for a mix, how to order the concrete, and definitely more of the finishing, pouring and finishing details than I do in a video like this. This is more just to, give you an idea of what we do and how we do it, and then gives you a little bit of an idea of maybe how to do something like this. But there's a lot of little detail, especially in the finishing, that you just don't quite get if you're not a concrete guy like us, if you don't pour concrete every day. This job, luckily, is only about a 15-minute ride from our shop. A lot of the jobs we do living in Maine, we live in kind of like not really a city, but a rural section in between a couple cities. So we do quite a bit of traveling on all our work. It's nothing for us to travel an hour one way to get to the job site to pour some concrete. And we generally, from April to, let's say, 1st of December, we're pouring concrete every day, 5 days a week, sometimes even on Saturday. And that's what we do is, a job like this, all 3 of us will stay and finish this. But a lot of jobs, we'll do like a garage slab, like in the back, that garage, we'll pour a garage like that. We'll leave 1 guy to finish and power trowel, sometimes 2, depending on how big it is. And then the rest of us will go get jobs ready for the very next day, the very next pour. And that happens like every day of the week. That's just how we work. So we set the forms to grade, like I said earlier, and we're screeding right off top of the forms. That's a magnesium screed. Anybody that does this for a living has, magnesium screeds. They don't just use 2x4s if you do it every day. They're just that metal is really lightweight. It's kind of like aluminum. It's lightweight, but it's magnesium. And the trick is just keeping it clean so you can use it. I've had those screeds. We got all different sizes. You can see a couple more on the truck in the background there up on the rack. I've had those for years and years. We just clean them pretty good. If you get a little bit of buildup on them, you can just take a take a diamond wheel with a grinder and kind of grind off the excess. But those work really good for a screed. They stay really nice and straight. Now it's pretty cold this morning. The temperatures are in the 30s. There is like 120 degree warm water in the mix. The concrete company has started batching the concrete out with warm water because temperatures are getting down cold. They do charge for it. They charge, I think, $5 or $6 a yard for the warm water. And that's pretty standard. That's what they've always done ever since I've been pouring concrete. They always charge extra. And then if you want, on top of that, which we usually do, is we always add accelerator into the mix too. We know, based on what we're doing, how cold it is, the type of mix we're using, just how much accelerator we need to put in to get this to set up to where we want it to set up. Especially if the night, like if the night here was going to get below freezing, that would dictate a little bit about how much accelerator we use when we're pouring here. And then we try to get away from not having to cover the concrete the same night to protect it from freezing if we can. Now, a lot of jobs we do when we get into late November and December, the problem with covering this with either some plastic or some hay or even concrete blankets is that you get condensation under there because the concrete's generating heat as it's curing, right? Heat of hydration. And that creates condensation underneath the plastic, and that leaves some funny looking marks on the surface of the concrete, shadowing, like dark shadows, light spots that you just can't get out. Those are permanent. So that's about as easy as it is to pour something like this. You know, you want to use the right slump. Don't want to get it too wet. We tell the driver between a 5 and a 6 for a slump. He mixes it up to what he thinks is that. He does have a gauge on his truck that he goes by that kind of helps him get it close. And then if he thinks we need a little bit more water based on what we're doing, we can just have him give it another few gallons. But we can see we got the joints cut. I show you how to cut the joints on part 1. I show you how we cut those, how we measure them out. And then in the training videos, if you do decide to join the concrete underground, I go much more into detail of the different types of ways to cut joints, whether they're short ones like this or longer ones, stuff like that. And then as the concrete sets up, as it gets firm, we like to get the surface all magged out. Getting it ready to broom is what I call it. And there's a bunch of different ways to do this. We have our way that works really good for us here in Maine. And our concrete in Maine has air entrainment in it. I don't know if you've ever heard of air entrainment. If you're from the northern climate states where you get freezing weather, I'm sure you have. But maybe you in the south where you never get below freezing, you've never had air entrainment in your concrete and you don't really need it. But that just helps with freezing and thawing it. Air entrainment is basically a chemical they add when they batch the concrete out, and it creates little tiny microscopic bubbles in the concrete. So when water gets on the concrete and it soaks down into the concrete, and let's say it freezes down in there, it doesn't have a chance to dry out or evaporate. It freezes in the concrete. Those microscopic bubbles give that water room to expand a little bit and not blow the surface off the concrete. So it's kind of to help with freezing and thawing mostly. And we use it on all our exterior pours like this. And then we'll even use it in garage slabs like the garage you see in the background. And we don't use quite as much air in those slabs, but we do put a little bit in. Because a lot of the garages aren't heated here in Maine, and if a car drives in there in the winter and then you got whatever snow or ice or slush melting off the car onto the concrete floor, and then it freezes overnight inside the garage, that water is going to freeze in the concrete. So you still need a little bit of air entrainment. And we don't have any trouble power troweling stuff like that. I've been doing that for over 40 years, power and troweling air entrainment in concrete with not having any bad effects or anything like that. So again, this is part 2 of 3. The first one was the sidewalk we did right out front of the house. This is this ramp, and then part 3 is the concrete patio that's right out back of the house. It's a little bit bigger than both of these, and that's going to have a mag. We'll mag float it, we'll broom it, we'll cut joints in it, we'll do edging like Luke's edging right now. Kind of the whole package on all 3 of these. So we're staying pretty busy. We got all 3 of these to finish. They're all setting up because that was just one load of concrete. So they're all setting up about the same. So the timing of this finishing is kind of critical, and you know, you got to know if you're doing a bunch of little things on a job like this, being able to go back and forth and get the right finish on them all. You can see all the leaves on the ground. Wait till you see part 3 on the back patio, all the leaves that are out back there. They pretty much, most of them have fallen off the trees except for some of the beech trees. And if it was windy today, boy, we'd be fighting not only just the wind, but the leaves too. That would have made a mess. So we kind of lucked out with it being a pretty nice day, even though it's cold. I'm really scrubbing that out, magging it, getting it to where I want it. And there's a lot of times we'll go over something like this, definitely more than once, usually twice, sometimes even 3 times before we run a broom over it. We look for a certain firmness of the concrete. There's a certain way we want the surface to look before we broom it. Now, if you broom something like this too early, if it's still too soft, that broom is going to pull the aggregate right out of the surface and kind of roll the aggregate on top, and you're going to have like a broomed aggregate kind of look. It's going to look really rough. It's not going to look very good. It's going to be hard to, honestly, it'll be hard to keep clean. You'll have to pressure wash this thing all the time, but it's just not going to look good. Like, the surface has to be firm enough to hold the aggregate in place. And then even though this has a 3/4 inch aggregate mix, there's even smaller stones than that in there. Just in the sand itself, there's smaller stones about 1/8 of an inch around. And though you still, those have to be kept in place after you pull the broom over it too, or you can get those to roll across the surface a little bit, and that makes for a really rough looking broom surface. So the timing of all this is pretty critical, and knowing what to look for and knowing what the concrete should feel like underneath your mag float, or even underneath your hand. If you try to press into this surface right now with your fingers, you got to know how to feel the firmness of the concrete and decide when's it right and when's it not. That's where hands-on comes into play. But understanding from watching a video like this, just understanding that there even is a timing part of it, is half the battle, really, before you just go out and try to do something on your own like this. You can see we're being pretty fussy with that surface, making sure there's no lines from the pouring, from the screeding, from the bull float, and then no lines from the mag float itself. We basically want that to look kind of just it's not technically not smooth. It's definitely smoother than after we got done pouring it, but we want it to be flat, and then we want the surface to still have like enough moisture to it so when Darren pulls the broom over it, all the broom marks look even across the whole surface of the ramp. That's how he cleans the broom in between. Like, he'll pull either 1 or 2 passes, and then he'll clean that broom. And that's another way to keep all the broom marks looking even. If you just keep going over it from start to finish here, the paste gets built up in the bristles of the broom, and by the time you get about halfway, you'll start rolling these, what we call, some of the paste of the surface. They look like little concrete balls across the surface, and those will kind of break off the next day, but we don't even like looking at them. Just first impression means everything to us, so we want the homeowner to look at this and say, wow, that looks really good. Now, I'll mention it one more time. If you've watched this far, thanks for watching. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. Put new sub in the comments. I'll enter you into a free drawing to win some gear that we wear. And there's a couple other videos going to pop up here. Hopefully part 1 and part 3 of this. So make sure you check them out.